So today we are making Beijing 炸酱面. Be helpful. So this dish is basically a home cooking, but also it is actually so well loved that a lot of restaurants carry this dish as well. But then again, you go into different restaurants, different homes, everybody have their uniqueness, their own tweaks, their own likes and dislikes. So every recipe is slightly different. And we have posted this recipe long time ago. We have received feedbacks from our readers that our old Zha Jiang Mian recipe is not traditional because I used ground pork. I also added shiitake mushroom, but today we are going to try to do the authentic traditional way, which is using pork belly. We're also adding a little bit more aromatics, and we're going to infuse the oil. The traditional Zha Jiang Mian uses 3 sauces. One is dry yellow soybean paste, which I can't find, okay, in the Asian markets here. It is really dry. You actually have to moisten with either some like wine, 绍兴 wine, cooking wine, or water to you have to add a little bit, mix, and to get to this sauce consistency. If you can come across with that and you want to try that, that's what you have to do ahead of time. And then this soybean paste, which is this it's like more like a sauce. And also this sweet bean sauce. I figure, you know what, since we don't have the dry bean sauce and we're gonna use this 2 bean sauce, and I've tried it and it tastes really good, we have to make do with what we have. So if you can find regular soybean paste, not the spicy one, which we use in many of the Hunan dishes in the past, but just soybean paste, regular, not spicy, will be good. And this is the sweet soybean paste, which we have used in the past as well. So if you can just get these 2 kinds, you're in good shape. Even though they're 2 very similar, they both soybean paste, but the sweet soybean paste is almost all the time is pureed. Okay, it has that fermented sweet bean paste smell to it. And then the soybean is, you can see little chunks of beans in it. So they are very different. So the noodle that I like to use, actually the rule of thumb of noodle picking, is that when you have a very savory, thick sauce, I generally like to use thicker noodles because the ratio of saltiness and the noodle is well balanced. But if you have a more delicate flavor, like say soup noodle, then I like to use much thinner noodles because then the flavor is also well balanced. If you use the thick noodle in a delicate soup noodle, then in my opinion all you taste is the noodle. There's no, it's not picking up flavor from the stock, from the soup. The reason I like this ribbon effect, more sauces can cling to it, and you get a well-balanced eating experience. So let me talk about the pork a little bit. So the traditional recipe for Zha Jiang Mian is that you actually have to separate the pork fat to the lean meat, and the ideal cut of pork is pork belly. Put myself out there. It's not to say that you can't use pork butt with some pork fat, or I dare to say that you can also, if you don't eat pork, use beef. Some beef with some beef fat. I think, although I have never tried it, I think that would be super ideal. This is where I guess the time-consuming part of this recipe, everything else is actually somewhat fast. The reason you have to separate the pork fat with the lean meat is because we need to render some of the fat out into the sauce. A lot of the pork belly that I come across have skin on it, and then we have readers telling us that wherever they buy in pork belly which has no skin on it, with or without skin, both are fine. And the skin actually adds a little bit more sheen to the sauce, if you will, and it has great texture, so I wouldn't discard it. So either way, it's fine, okay? The fact that this recipe has a lot of fat services a purpose for its long shelf life. So this is something that you can prepare ahead of time for the week, for 2 weeks in a row, where you have a jar of sauce, like our simple Dan Dan noodle sauce that we have in our book, is that you can make this sauce, store in the refrigerator during the weekdays. You can just, cook the noodle, chop up some carrots, vegetables, don't have to cook it, don't even have to cook it, scoop a couple of scoops of the sauce to mix it with noodle, add the raw vegetable, and voila, you have yourself a complete meal. Yeah, it should last about 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're gonna infuse the oil first with the aromatics, including the onion greens. Greens we're gonna use to infuse the oil. The white parts, we're gonna put it in a sauce. Infuse means takes time. So we're gonna do about 15 minutes until the greens are crisp. For this recipe, I use a 1/3 cup of oil. Seems like a lot because, believe it or not, the cut of pork belly that I'm using actually is quite lean. If the cuts of pork belly that is fattier than what I have here, then you can reduce the oil. It's all personal preference. The longer you infuse it, the more flavor come out of it. So now, I think this is about the right time to remove the aromatics. As you can see, the scallions are really crisp. The star anise a few shades darker. I'm gonna remove them. And the right way to do this is that you move them onto the edge of your wok. And this way, some of the oil can drain off. So now, we gotta render the pork fat. And I just scoop them out like this. And you discard this. Discard this. No need. Rendering pork fat requires low heat and a little bit of time. There's indications when the rendering is done is when you see the edges of the pork bits, the pork fat bits are turning lightly golden brown. And that's when it's done. So at this point, you don't have to do much. Just let the heat do the work. It takes about 8 to 10 minutes. So now we're gonna cook and turn up the heat just so slightly. Basically, we're gonna cook until the meat turns white. When you're rendering the fat, just be careful because the fat at some point will explode here and there. So be very careful. Okay, turn up the heat. Quickly cook the meat until they all turn white. So now they turn white. Now it's time to add all the sauces. Since it takes you time to measure and stuff, it's good time to reduce the heat. And then we add everything. We need 4 tablespoons of Zha Jiang wine, 1.5 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, which will help to give that nice rich color. We're gonna use 3 heaping tablespoons of the regular bean sauce. Then 4 heaping tablespoons of the soybean sauce. And I'm going to put in a cup of water. Okay? And then mix everything well. Turn the heat to medium. I also added, believe it or not, with all that sauce, I feel that it's not actually not salty enough. So I added half teaspoon of salt to the sauce. It seems like a lot, but really, once you mix it with the noodle, it balances out. But then again, it's optional. I'm gonna put it in optional because some readers are gonna find it to be too salty, okay? Okay. So as you can see, I want you to see that this is, so you can remember this picture when you compare it later when the sauce is reduced. It's very watery right now, okay? Put in the scallion. This is the scallion white, and this will help to bring out more flavor. Cover and simmer for 10 minutes with low heat, okay? Because the goal is to cook, to simmer it so the flavor gets into the pork, but without reducing the liquid too much, because the sauce is the essence of this dish. So this sauce, as you can see, the bubbles above the sauce is much thicker now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna reduce it just a little bit, and then the sauce is done. And it's a good time to taste it if it needs a little bit more salt. Probably, to your opinion at this time, is like, oh, I don't need salt. But just remember that you need the sauce to be a slightly saltier because you're gonna mix it with, plain noodles. Okay, so it's important that with that in mind. So we're gonna turn up the heat slightly. The higher the temperature, the faster the sauce reduces, okay? And you just utilize the heat from the side of the wok. Every time it bubbles, liquid evaporates off. Okay? It's actually pretty ideal right now. Just a tap it. And this is another reason why you wanted to reduce it with the lid open, because then you can control it, how thick it is. The indication that I look for is that as you scrape off the sauce, you see where it's like there's no sauce touching the bottom of the wok. And it's because, you know what, the oil has basically, the sauce has reduced enough, the oil actually, I don't know how to say it.
It's making itself known.
Yes, it's making itself known. It's like, I'm here.
It's emulsified.
It's emulsified. That's it. So you transfer this to a bowl, and then you cook the noodle. You julienne some carrots, cucumber, basically any vegetable you want. Cabbage will be good. Purple cabbage is good. So this way you can eat it as a complete meal. So you have the noodle, the sauce, and some vegetable. So that's why I say it's a great recipe to prepare ahead of time. Put it in the refrigerator, and when you come home late, just cook the noodle, julienne some vegetable, and you have a meal. The reason why the cucumber is really a good candidate for this dish, is because how refreshing it is. The sauce is a little rich. It's not a little rich. It's pretty rich. So you want something to balance it off. Very rich. It's actually not a whole lot of oil. It's not a whole lot. You see some oil, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But you know what? If you have if you have a piece of pork belly that's fatty, then you're gonna end up with a lot more oil. Mm. You can remove it if it gets too much. Okay. Noodle. How much you gonna eat? How much you gonna eat?
We want a lot.
You want a lot. Okay. I personally like dry noodle a lot. I actually don't like fresh noodle because fresh noodle tend to be too starchy, very fast. Okay, heat is too high. Another one? Okay, here we go. Okay. Give it time. Everything needs time. If you happen to have fresh noodles that you have to use up, just use a large pot of water to cook it. And then as you're cooking the noodle, every time the water boils, then add cold water to it to cool it down. And if you do that a couple of times, by the time that the noodle is cooked, the noodle won't be as starchy. If you use that method, fresh noodle is fine. We're gonna do 2 servings. Oh. Not nice. Just a little bit more for 1 serving. There you go. Take it over there, put a big glob of sauce on it, and then take a picture. There's no really set ratios. You just have to get it to the point that the saltiness, everything is to your liking. See, all that oil in the sauce really coats the noodle so well. And also, if you can smell it, it's really good. Okay. Clearly, not enough sauce. There you go, because there's still some white noodles in here. So let's add another scoop. So you mix. You actually want all the noodles to look like this. And then you're good, like this. I just tasted a piece of pork. It's so good. All right, we're gonna ask Sarah to do a taste test.
Okay.
I didn't know I was going to be on camera today. I didn't really,
You look good.
Yeah. I doubt that, but okay.
Oh, yo. There you go. Hey, sorry. Here you go, try this.
Okay, small bite.
Have a piece of meat.
Is it good?
I feel like it's more flavorful rather than just salty, because the other one, like the first few attempts, were more salty, and this, like, there's more sauce, so it coats the noodles better.
Okay, one more bite.
Too big.
Really? Yeah. 怕你不够吃. Okay, eat it with a piece of meat.
Very good. And really good with that type of noodle, too. I really enjoyed that,
The texture,
that
right?
texture.
Yeah.
The
Beijing-style Zha Jiang Mian. All right, come somebody eat it.
I'm gonna bring it to Justin, poor thing.
Wait. Look over here! Crazy lady. Action.
I'm happy by myself, not a care in the world. This is a life, just me, myself, and I. I am watching the clouds up in the sky, all but laughing out loud. I'm telling you why I'm living the life, just me, myself, and